As some of you may know, alongside the podcast, I also run the How Does She Do It online membership community. And I have to say, it's become one of the things that I am most proud of in my career. It's a small, intimate, subscription-based community for women in business. And at its heart, it's about one thing: making sure that you never have to feel alone in running your business. Because if there's one thing I hear more than anything else, it's that running your own business can be incredibly isolating. The self-doubt, uncertainty, the days when you're not sure if you're doing the right thing, I've been there, and I know that so many of you have too. This membership offers a genuine support network, real women, real conversations, and real help when you need it. There's online networking, monthly guest expert masterclasses, business tools, accountability, support including online co-working, a brilliant WhatsApp community, and an incredible directory too. All in one place, all designed to help you not just survive in business, but truly thrive. This community is growing all of the time, and the energy within it honestly blows my mind on a regular basis. I'm watching women grow in confidence, push through their comfort zones, and build connections that genuinely change the way they feel about their businesses and themselves. If any of this resonates with you, and if you've been listening to this podcast thinking I could really do with a community like that, then I would absolutely love for you to come and find out more. You can find all the details in the show notes, and if you'd like to have a chat with me before you take the plunge, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. Warmly welcoming you to How Does She Do It, the podcast, with me, your host, Jo Ferroni. Join me on my journey as I explore finding a gentle balance in both business and life, because being kind to ourselves is our superpower. In today's episode, my guest is Kate Harrison, founder of Chromie and the woman behind Kate the Colour. We spend the whole hour talking about something I didn't expect a business podcast to cover this deeply: colour as energy, and what happens when you lose your colour entirely. This was a topic I absolutely loved delving into. Kate's route here wasn't a straight line. 25 years of self-employment, a high street styling studio that won a Grazia award, a pregnancy that ended in preeclampsia and postnatal depression, and, more recently, her husband's breakdown, which left her rebuilding alone and, in her words, sat in a pit of greyness. It was there that a chromatherapy course she'd taken during lockdown suddenly clicked into something bigger. Colour, not as decoration, but as frequency, and how you can choose which one you wear each day. This is a fascinating conversation that explores the idea of soul shades, how each of us carries a dominant colour energy, and that mismatching it to our role or environment is often exactly why something feels off. By the end, I found myself thinking about my own wardrobe completely differently, and about how much choice we actually have over the mood that we bring into each day. I really hope it resonates with you in a similar way. Enjoy the show. Kate, welcome to the podcast. It is so good to have you here today. How are you doing?
I am doing great, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here because, how does she do it? Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. I think we're going to have a great deal of fun today. And I know that my listeners are in for such a treat with all that you're going to be sharing for us. And so I would love to start by just talking a little bit about where I first saw you. And that was at Happy Place Festival, where I think you've actually spoken for a few years, but I saw you there last year. And I've got to say that your stand just stood out like such a beautiful boost of feel-good energy, and it was so dynamic. And funnily enough, I didn't meet you until right at the very end of the day. I think you were packing away already, actually, and I realise now why, because you were quite near the entrance, and by the time we'd travelled for about 2 hours to get there, we were just heading straight for the food truck. We needed our breakfast. So we
Yeah.
we took a photo on the way by and then thought we'll come back later. But yeah, it's lovely to have you here today on the How Does She Do It podcast. Another thing I wanted to add before we got started was that I saw your story before I came on to record today, and you were saying that you were wearing blue today, which is it's good for the throat, it's good for speaking. And I looked down at what I was wearing because I'm wearing an orange jumpsuit today in I wanted to make sure I was showing up bright for you, and I'm thinking, "Is this a bad colour for me to have worn to
Do you know
interview you?"
what? How strange. Okay, so yes, I talk about colour as energy. We're gonna get into it, but blue
We
and
will.
orange are what we call a magnetic pair. So they're actually opposites, and opposites attract in energy. You know, when you've got a plus and a minus, it attracts and it becomes magnetic, and they actually super boost each other. So this is the beautiful thing about color. It's subconscious, but on our subconscious, we've connected already. You're bringing the orange, that energy to my kind of calm communication. I love it.
Oh my goodness, I love it as well. I knew it was gonna be a good conversation anyway, but it's just gone up a few notches, already. Ah, okay, let's get started. Have you always worked for yourself, and what did you do before creating Chromie?
I love this because I love working out where people have come from and what they've done and how did it start. And I've worked for myself for a very long time. I think probably 25 years. I did a retail marketing degree at university, which, as my father put it, was a degree in shopping. And he was kind of right. Um, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I actually failed my A levels. So before I got into uni, I kind of didn't get into uni. And at the time, I was working on the food tills at Marks and Spencer's, and I went to my personnel manager at the time because that's what they were. Didn't have like kind of HR.
Yeah.
There was no kind of, and I just said, "Look, I failed my A levels. I'm just going to have to work on a till all my life." And she took one look at me and was like, "Absolutely not. Come on, this is what we're going to do." And she was kind of she was called Helen Blaylock, and I actually think now she's head of people, I think, at M&S now. But at the time, she was just a personnel manager in my local store where I was working, and she had that vision, and she was that woman that I needed at that time to go, absolutely not. This is what we're going to do. And she encouraged me to apply for their graduate program because they took 6 people every year who hadn't been to university, who had just come straight from A levels. And she said, I think you just need to go there and see what happens. So I did. I interviewed for that and I got on it. And it was amazing. It was like the best year of my life, really, because I was only 18. And I was with girls who'd come straight out of girls and boys, actually. Yeah, there was a good mix of us who'd come out of uni. So they were older than me. And I was managing by the end of it people who were obviously like way older than me, but it kind of stood me in good stead and it gave me an unconditional offer to uni, which really I probably didn't need, but I just had a wonderful time. I just loved uni. It was brilliant. And at that time, because I was doing retail marketing and I'd kind of fallen in love with retail a little bit, apart from working at Christmas, which I absolutely hated. But I then worked my way around all the designer shops in Manchester. So me and all my mates generally, I was at Armani, I worked for Emporio Armani, and one of my friends was at DKNY, and Manchester was a real like, it was the Posh and Becks era. They lived in Manchester. It was all like all about King Street. They were my clients at Armani. It was just very glam considering I was a student, but we'd go out every night and we'd never have to pay for a drink. You know, we're on all the guest lists because we were the designer girls and it was brilliant. So when I was doing my degree, I worked for lots of different retailers from Armani to Selfridges to flannels, so quite high-end designer retail. And I really loved that because I thought I loved the fashion, but actually what I loved was the people. And we got to, in those days, it was before social media, we had our own client lists that we built up. So we got to talk to people, understand what they wanted, and then I'd ring them up. So I'd ring up people and go, "Oh, I've got this jumper in, it's so you. You need to come in and get it. Come and try it on." Or they'd phone me and they go, "I've got an event to go to. What should I be wearing?" And it was just brilliant, that level of sort of community and helping people. I loved that. And out of university, I then went into the corporate world and did a very big kind of U-turn and went into aluminium recycling. Why? Why? I can see you like, why? Because they gave me a car. So it was a
Fair
sandwich
play.
course that in my 3rd year out, you were offered different jobs. And I saw this job come up and it said company car. And I thought, oh. It was like 10 grand a year, but you got a car. And I thought, this is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be all around the country. And I just wanted to see the country. I just wanted to travel around, lovely meeting new people. They were all scrap dealers, so they were salt of the earth. And I just had the best time. And then when I came out of uni, they offered me my boss's role from that year. So I did that for a couple of years, but missed, still got that human interaction and the people thing. But corporate life was not for me. I didn't like all the rules, and I was like, "Oh, I've got so much creativity to give," and I just felt like I was tethered, and I think forever I had been that woman or that girl, even in school, looking out the window going, "I wanna be out there, don't wanna be in here, just wanna be out there." And that's why I love that role because I was on the road. I don't think I could have sat in an office, but it kind of fast became like, "Ah, this is not the one," and that's when I decided, "Actually, how can I be involved with people and clothes," 'cause I thought clothes at the time was the thing that I really loved before I realised it was people, and, I thought, "You know what, I really missed styling people because that's what I used to do in these shops." So did a styling course. I found a styling course, took my, holiday that year, and instead of going on holiday, went down to London and studied this City and Guilds in styling at a styling academy in London, kind of the only one that was around those days. There were no kind of these courses, and certainly not in Manchester. We just weren't cool enough. We had to come to London. So I did that, and it really transformed my life, and I really was like, "Wow, this is incredible." And I took a lot away from it, and I met women there who were all setting up on their own and had these big dreams of doing things, and I was like, "This is so cool. This is a world I don't even know." And that's where it all started really, and I'd set up my first image consultancy, if you like, at Code. It was called Code, and that was 25 years ago, and since then, ruthlessly self-employed.
Absolutely. Right, I'm gonna pause us for a moment before we come on to the self-employment. I just need to take a moment for Helen, the personnel manager. When you told me that story, my whole body fizzed with energy. I could feel how grateful you were to her that she had seen you and she had almost scooped you up and said, no way are you going to be on the tills forever. You've got so, she could see that you had so much more to offer. What an incredible person. I'm tingling again now talking
It was
about it.
him. And that first interaction really was the catalyst behind. I do a lot of work now with a not-for-profit organisation called Girls Out Loud that does mentoring with girls in school, and I want to be, yes, I want to be that woman for teenage girls who maybe don't have that at home, don't have that in a friendship group, but also for women. Because,
Yeah.
in the same way that you do, nothing's perfect, nothing's shiny, and if I can be that woman that goes, "This is what we're gonna do. Put an arm around you and we can do it together," that stood me in good stead then. She kind of was that sort of pioneer for me, and she was, "That's goals. That's what I wanna be. Whatever I do, I want to be her because I always want to be the one that's cheering for people. I never want to be the competitive kind of tearing people down. I'm a firm believer that we rise together, and she was so influential in that."
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I feel it and I hear it. It's just wonderful to hear. And of course, you're now helping others through the not for profit as well. There's no question. Of course, you were going to do that because you've been offered such support and they've really seen you and you know how that made you feel and you know how it then built a foundation actually for what came next and all of those stepping stones that have led you to where you are today. I just love that appreciation that you've got and that it's within your heart to want to offer that to other young people and as you say adults. And what I would say about the adults needing it too, I think so many of us are still kind of socially conditioned from our childhood, from being in school, almost not believing in ourselves enough. And so it's brilliant that you can get in there with kids whilst they're young and teenagers, but there is definitely a need for us. You know, I'm late 40s, nearly 50. I feel that my kind of era we weren't really empowered in that way, I don't think, unless we did have someone like Helen spot us, mentor us, support us, uplift us. And yeah, I just don't think I I think there is nothing more powerful for these young people. I love this.
Yesterday, I was actually with Girls Out Loud at a school doing a graduation ceremony. So they run a thing called Big Sister, and where you take a woman from corporate generally, and they team them with a girl from year 8 in high school. And I do a lot of the interviewing for them because I love stories and I love hearing people's stories. And that's how I kind of support this charity. And when I'm asking these women, it's so key that they have got so much out of this as well as the girls, because what we see is the limiting behavior from these women is sort of hardwired in year 8. So when you bring the two of them together, this magical thing happens that actually you've created this space for both of them to grow together. They get the perspective of the year 8 before the world has told them they can't do stuff. And they also get the wisdom of the women. So it's like a magical combination. And this is what women need to do, don't they? Like, we just need to lift each other up, and that cross generational thing. Oh, I have friends who are like, well, my daughter she's my youngest and she's 12. And then I have friends who are like in their 80s, and they're all so valuable. I think that that's so important to have this. You've got the elders and then you've got the youngsters, and you can learn from each other. I just think it's absolute magic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I had an idea years ago when I was a stay-at-home mum, and I'd done some volunteering in our village, running the local rhyme time for children, toddlers, babies, and I ended up doing that 3 times across the last 20 years, actually, 3 sort of batches of it. But when I wasn't doing it, I thought about how it'd be really cool to have an intergenerational cafe where we bring together young people and old people, not just sitting in the same place, but interacting, because we can all teach each other so much, upwards and downwards. It's so
It's
brilliant.
so
We're human.
important. It's so important, and your journey sounds so parallel to mine because I've got 3 children, and I stayed at home when they were little just because there were way too many of them to even afford childcare. Um, But I just so wholeheartedly loved that experience. I had a tricky first pregnancy and had quite bad postnatal depression, but once I came out of that, year or so later, I threw myself into this community of people that I'd never met before, because you had that one thing in common, which is the kids, and ended up running kind of like local play groups and stuff like that. And I've never been happier. And it really was because the community. You had shared experience there, and you had people who it was their second child, and you had people who it was their first, and people who it was the third. You had grandmas there looking after kids that had come. And that was so special. And to try and create that again, which is kind of what I'm trying to do within my Glow community. And when I talk to people about colouring in their lives, it's not just about colour. Colour is energy. So it's as much about energy and using those colours as little hooks to be able to recharge yourself. But there's nothing like human connection to recharge you, is there?
I think we're going to need 3 podcast episodes,
I
Kate.
know.
This is amazing.
Don't know where we're going to go with this.
I love what you shared. I had a very tricky first pregnancy as well, but let's talk about that another time. I feel that there's a lot of alignment here, and well done you for, noticing what you're good at as well, noticing that, community is something that you create and immerse yourself in, and it works for you, because that's important, I think, as a young mum. But for others as well, it's just gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. And so, what was the main driver for launching your business?
Well, my husband was very entrepreneurial. So we've been together since we were 16. So obviously we weren't entrepreneurial then. My family were all teachers. My mum and dad were both teachers. So kind of academia was applauded. So obviously failing all my A levels wasn't the one. It wasn't great. But I met my now husband when we were at sixth form college, and his dad was very entrepreneurial, and he went to UMIST and really pushed himself to learn construction engineering, and started working for a big corporate, but very quickly set up his own construction company. And I was like, that's brilliant, isn't it? If he can do it, I can do it. And he's always been a real cheerleader in that as well, that you can do it. And I think just because I saw him doing it at such a young age, I was like, it's just normal. I know it's not normal for a lot of people, but I didn't come from a corporate background. I came from teachers, and I just thought, I cannot be stuck in a classroom all of my life because, quite frankly, I didn't like being in a classroom when I had to be at school. I'm definitely not going to stay in there. So it just felt like freedom to me. It felt like that being able to look out of the window and not just hope to be there, climb out of it and get out there. And that's how it felt to me. And I did that gradually. I left the aluminium can recycling and thought, what can I do here to kind of try and get a bit of a half and half? So I wanted some income coming in. And so I did a bit of marketing consultancy for some small businesses again, which I loved because I could help people, and that's what I like doing. I like helping people. So I did that for a little while, and then I had the image consultancy on the side and grew that big enough to then be able to do that on my own, which was fantastic. I actually then had a business partner as well, and we took on a business premises, and we actually had the UK's first ever high street style advice studio, which was way ahead of its time because there was no social media.
Wow.
So literally the only way we could talk about it was maybe through magazines, through print, through newspapers, through we had a TV show, but still only very small in Manchester in the Northwest. It was kind of a subsidiary of Granada, Channel M. Now I think, gosh, if we'd have had that now, where literally the world is so small, that could have really flown. But yeah, we won a Grazia magazine award for that, which was
That's
brilliant.
incredible.
Entrepreneurs of the
Wow.
Year. I think it was so that must have been 2006. So this is a long time ago. It's 20 years ago. I can't actually believe it's 20 years ago. But yeah, I think I've always been one of those take the bull by the horns. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Can we take a moment for you to really take in that that was 20 years ago? How proud are you of yourself for doing something like that? You know, like you say, when it was a time when social media was barely there at all. It wasn't. And it was just about to come in. But you put yourselves out there and
Mm.
created that show and got, you were with Granada, you had to get someone
Yeah.
to agree to that. That's
It is, it's
massive.
wild. It's wild thinking that, but we didn't know any different, did we? This was just the way that things were, and I think then we were really on a climb. We had 2 series, we got recommissioned for that 2nd series, and we were securing big contracts with the likes of, like, Macarthur Glen Outlets and the Trafford Centre, and we were presenting on their stages, so we were doing their fashion shows for them, and then we just landed this big contract with a nice retainer, which was always kind of that was always in business, that's the great thing to get, isn't it, right? This is where your dependability
Yeah.
comes when you get a really nice retainer with a corporate client, fantastic. And we just got that, and I became pregnant. So I got married in the 2007 and moved house in the December and was pregnant by the January. It was like tick, tick, tick. I mean, we've been together 10 years already. And really went into that pregnancy thinking, well, it's fine because this baby will just come with me, right? That will be absolutely fine. And no problem at all. And at the time, my business partner, she was older than me and she had 2 little girls. And I saw her doing it, but really didn't appreciate how hard this was. Her husband stayed at home so she could focus on our business. And I just thought, "Oh, I'll be fine. I'll just take him with me." And wow, that did not happen. That pregnancy floored me in a it took me right back to base. I put on 6 stone in that pregnancy because I just
Right.
if you were beige and you didn't move fast enough, I'd eat you. I literally was. I craved stodge, and but I had quite a good pregnancy, but was carrying on working. I remember being on stage. I remember I was at, I think it was HSBC. We did a lot of corporate work at the time, a lot of personal branding and identity work and styling for the corporate era, which is very different since COVID. But back then it was big. Personal impact was huge. And I remember standing on a massive stage in front of all these people. And I was on, for some reason I was doing, we must have had 2 events and I was on my own. 6 stone heavier and thinking, "Gosh, I feel really dizzy. I feel really dizzy." But
Okay.
got through it all, did it all, and then got admitted to hospital with preeclampsia straight after it. So hadn't
Crikey.
thought about having this baby at all. I'd just gone, "I'm having a baby, it's fine," because she can do it. She just does it. That's what I do. I just do it. And that
Mhm.
baby stopped me in my tracks. Charlie, who's 18 this year.
Oh,
Yeah, stopped me in my tracks. Had an awful birth. had an emergency cesarean, and came home and just thought, "What have I done? What
Yeah.
have I done? What is this? This is horrific." You know, I can't even stand up straight. I've had this emergency cesarean. They expect me to keep this thing alive, £9, all £9 one of him, with a full head of hair and a monobrow. It was a bit like I'd given birth to a man. And I was like, "There's nobody told me about this bit." And because I was running my business at the time and I was the independent woman, I'd not even gone to any prenatal groups or any I'd not really thought about it, to be honest. And I just thought I'd pop it out and I'd get on with life. And wow, how I didn't do that. It kind of went in a very different direction from there on in.
Thank you
Am I
for
leaving you on a
sharing that.
cliffhanger?
You are a little bit. I'm still stuck with the monobrow actually.
He did, honestly. He came out and he was I used to push this baby around the Trafford Centre because that was my safe space because I had him in October, so it was awful weather, and it's just where I could push him round, he'd look at the lights and stuff, and people used to stop me and go, "My goodness, your baby looks like Robbie Williams." He didn't look like a baby. He was born with this, like, mad quiff of a full head of dark hair and a monobrow.
Wow.
Still has it now, he's a beautiful boy,
I'm
um
sure you
but yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock, and all of a sudden, I wasn't the center of my own universe. He was,
no.
and I didn't really like it. At first, I didn't really like him. I was terrified of him. It was traumatic. That is it. You know, people say about going through traumas in your life, and people say, "It was such a special day having your baby." It just absolutely was not. I far preferred his first birthday to his birthday because I
Mm.
didn't have to be cut open and then asked to breastfeed something that was clearly wanting a steak and chips, not just a little bit of milk from me. It was it shook me to my core. It did shake me to my core, and I just reevaluated everything. And after that, I had work booked in for the December for Christmas. That's a really busy time with us for events, for fashion shows, for brands wanting activations and stuff. And I remember meeting Susanna, and I took my sister with me because I was really scared to tell her that I didn't want to do it anymore because I'd always been the one like, "Come on, yeah, driving this, driving this." And I just was like, I just actually can't do it. I can't even get my knickers on the right way. The last thing I want to do is go to work. I just I haven't got anything left. So
Too
I did.
much.
Yeah, it's too much. So I left the business, left it all to Suze and wallowed probably for a good few months. I did have postnatal depression and that was dark. And that was the first time really that this looking back, that the colour really drained from my life altogether. And when I talk to people
Mhm.
about have you lost your colour, very much like the flamingos who lose their pink when they have their babies because they go white because they regurgitate all their food and it's from the nutrition that their pink colour comes from. So when they have a baby, they regurgitate their food to feed the baby. So the baby
Oh
literally takes their colour. And I was like, this has happened to me. My clothing went
gosh.
black. My house was just beige. I had no inkling to do anything in it. My food was beige. There was no colour in my life. And it's only now that I've set up Chromie that I'm like, I'm gonna help you find your colour again, and that's what this is for, really. This is for anyone who's lost their colour before, because we lose it through so many different ways, but that was the first time I'd really lost it, and, managed to get it back, and now I'm here to help everybody else do the same.
What a journey. What an absolute journey. So it's hitting me really deep, actually. It's taking me back. I nearly cried just now because I was thinking I've never thought of it in that way, but I heard you talking, when I was researching for today, I heard you talking about losing your colour and then wearing black, and I can't imagine you in black, funnily enough, and I'm sure you look amazing in black, and there'll be times when you might wear a black dress or something. But anyway, that doesn't matter. When you have just said that now about how you lost your colour and the postnatal depression, I lost my colour so, so badly as well, and I wasn't even the most kind of, "Hey, look at me" kind of person beforehand, but I really lost my colour, and I just know that there will be a listener, multiple listeners tuning in today who are gonna go, "Oh, Kate's got my back here. She is speaking directly to me. So thank you for sharing that backstory, because it can be very easy for someone to just stand on a stage and say, "Hey, color's going to help you in your life. Let me show you how." That is brilliant. That is powerful. But I feel that what you have shared with us today has just given so much more depth to see where this comes from. This comes from so deep within you, and it's beautiful. And so what does your business and offering consist of today?
So today it really is that. I see so many women and increasingly men as well, actually, losing their colour. And really, Chromie was founded only, I'd say, probably fully about 4 years ago. And it came off the back of my husband having a nervous breakdown. Um,
Yeah,
who'd always been this very
gosh,
vivacious person, leader of a huge business, the business that he built out of when
from
he
a
was
young
a university, became a great business, big team, lovely. And he lost it all overnight. We lost everything. And he actually had to go into residential care. And at that time, the book stopped with me. I was on my own. For the first time really in my life, we've been together since we were 16. And I had 3 kids watch him, and they were kids that were old enough to know, what was going on here, so I had to be very transparent with them and stuff, and I'm like, "Okay." So, I had 2 choices. I could either see this as the end or I could see it as the beginning, and I sold every car off the driveway. He had a penchant for cars, quite thankfully now, because at least I could sell them, create something out of
Yep,
those. They became an asset,
yep.
and thought, "Well, I can sit here and do nothing, or I can find the colour again, and what am I good at?" And that's what I'm good at, and I had to start with me, because that was another time in life where I lost my colour.
I'm
I
not
w
surprised.
took the kids to school, came home, went to bed, kept the daylight out, wore the same grey tracksuit for 2 weeks, that was it. But there was no way. I think sometimes when you don't have options, it's such a magical time. So this is when I talk to people in the membership and I'm like, "Look, if you are literally down to your last fiver." I remember getting knocked back from McDonald's for a Happy Meal for one of my kids and thinking, "Okay, well, there's not really anywhere else I can go from here, so up is the only way. Up is the only way." And that's what I decided to do, and I the big thing about Chromie is that I say to people, "You get to set your vibration for the day, okay? Don't wake up and think that's set. It's not." If I'd have done that, I'd probably still be crawling back into bed now. And I'd studied this chromotherapy and colour psychology course in COVID. God knows how. When the kids were, I was homeschooling 3 children, but I loved the fact they got worksheets and they were learning something new every day, and I'm like, "That's so cool. I really wanna learn something new." And I'd always had a fixation with colour. When I was styling people, I'd see how women would, react to different colours differently. So, especially on the TV, if I put them in a red dress, they'd look incredible and they'd say they look incredible, but often they'd say, "It doesn't feel like me. It feels too much." And it was never that it looked too much, it was that it felt too much. And I'd always had this inkling that these women, they were feeling colour as well, they weren't just seeing it. And we do feel it. And then I was like, when I was sat there in my pit of greyness, it kind of occurred to me that this is what I need to do now. I need to colour in my life again, because what colour actually is energy. So it's different wavelengths of light. And because it's got a wavelength that has a frequency, and it just came into my head, I need to find my frequency. What frequency do I need today? Like tuning in a radio, you if you go in the radio and it's someone else's car and you're like, "Oh, that's not my frequency. What's this? I'm not on Rock FM. I like, Radio 2," or whatever you like. Um,
Yeah.
I hadn't found my frequency and I needed to find it, and I can change it every day, and colour can help you do that. So I literally started colouring in my life. Um
Gosh.
And it started with, I remember a very grey day. It was horrible outside. The kids had gone to school, and I'd seen this network, this women's network that was happening a few miles away. And I thought, this is the last thing I want to do. But Kate, you have got a business to build here, and you need women. and you need women, because I remembered that sense of community and that feeling that I got, and how much better I felt when I'd been to one of those baby groups. Even if, nothing exciting had happened, just being around women, being around these women that all kind of cheered for you. And I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going. I don't know anybody. I'm going. It's fine. It was at quite a nice bar. They were doing a brunch, and I was like, right, I'm going. And I selected my outfit based on the colours, based on the frequency that I wanted to feel that day. And I selected this bright yellow jacket that I'd had in my
Yeah.
wardrobe for ages, but had not worn for a long time, and a pink dress to go with it. And I had some bright pink £5 Primark boots as well that I wore with it. So this is not about how much these things cost. And I put it on, and there's a whole thing called embodied cognition, which is
Mm.
about, your brain processes you visually and makes a decision about you. So it's why there's been studies done on this, so why we trust doctors more when they're wearing their white coat and their stethoscope than if we saw them in a tracksuit jogging. You'd be like, "Oh God, no, don't come and treat me." But if someone rocked up, same person in their white coat, and you're like, "Oh yeah, absolutely fine, no problem." And I just thought,
Mm.
right, enclosed cognition, I'm using it. I'm using it. I'm using my colour therapy. I'm stepping into who I want to be and what I want to vibrate in that room. And before I'd even spoken to anybody, I'd walked into the room and 5 women were like, "What do you do? Oh my gosh, we need to be with you." And it was like, "Yes, this works." And I just started explaining. I was like, "Is it the jacket? Let me explain about this jacket. It's all about yellow. I feel the opposite of this today. I'm very stuck in my own thoughts, but actually yellow is all about clarity and about independence." And I thought I'd just tap into that solar plexus energy today. And they were like, "Where? How? Tell me how I can do this." And it literally went from there.
Whoa. So I'm so glad you spoke about the yellow jacket because I wanted to ask you about the yellow jacket. I love that story, and I'm going to try and connect. I'll pop a link in the show notes to the picture of it, the reel, one of your reels on Instagram, if that's all right with you,
Perfect.
so people can visualize it and obviously come and connect with you. What you've just added another layer to for me, because I knew that story and I find it mind blowing and so powerful. First of all, I love that you went to the networking event on your own. That's something that I've had to build myself up to doing over the last 10 years, and it doesn't come easily, but we got to push ourselves to do it. So that's stepping out of the comfort zone. So I really respect that. But secondly, I really, really love, and this is another way I think that you and I are similar. I love that you were just open and let them know, these ladies that were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. You look fabulous. Tell us your secret." You shared with them that you didn't feel like this bright yellow jacket that morning, but you've basically shared your behind the scenes there with them and being completely open and authentic with them. And that will have spoken volumes, because I don't think that everyone is like that. What would you say to that?
I don't Do you know, because I am,
Yeah,
maybe I have got a very skewed approach to this now, in that I'm probably overly optimistic, but I feel like I'd rather be like that than not. And in the past, I definitely haven't been. Working with colour and having my own I've had therapy before, lots of different, I've been on a bit of a personal development journey over the years. I think probably over the past 10 years, I would say, that you get to choose that perspective, and that's so powerful. I don't think
yeah,
people realize how powerful that is. We are, well, it's the whole "it's all right for you" kind of analogy. Yeah, it is all right for me because I decide it is. And I know
yeah,
that if you are in the depths and if you are struggling with kind of a clinical depression or something like that, then that's probably really difficult to hear. But every day you get to make a choice on this. Okay. Every day I get to choose if I want to put my invisibility cloak on, which is my black or my grey or my comfort zone, or if I want to step out as the main character. And I think that's very, very powerful. My husband always he says, "It must be nice to live in your world." I'm like, "It is." And do you know what's even better?
Yeah.
When I get to bring other people into it. And that's a great thing, and that's the great thing. You will find this in your community as well. When you get to bring people into that world, it can be a great world for everybody. Yes, there are awful things happening, but for example, our car got stolen 2 weeks ago. We were in London. We'd driven down to London, so I'm from Cheshire, so we're a long way from home. I've got my 2 teenage boys with me, left my daughter at home, and me and my husband were there, and we'd parked our car in an underground car park, all secured, NCP jobby. Came back on the Saturday, and it gone. So
Jeez.
most people's default will be like, what's gonna go on?" And I just was like, "Hmm, plot twist. I did quite fancy a new car, gotta be honest." And now the universe has delivered. It might not have delivered how I wanted it to deliver or how I thought it might deliver, but it's delivered. And this is quite an adventure
Yes.
now, boys. This is what I was saying to the boys. It's quite an adventure now. So now we have got to use our intellect to work out how are we getting home. So I want you to go on the maps and find out where the nearest tube station is.
Yes.
We're going to get the tube to Euston and we're going to get the train up and then, la, la, la. At the same time, because I'm all about relationships, the girl that sorts out my insurance is now a friend because I collect them. Because I'm like, yeah, we actually go to events and stuff together because I'm helping her with her business. And I spoke to her and she's like, "Yeah, just keep all the receipts." And then, last week there was a new car on the drive. So
Oh
you get
God.
to choose,
Honest.
you could be wallowing in that. You could be going, "Gosh, now I feel so unsafe. I just feel this is awful." That trauma could have had so many other little T's underneath it, but I chose to turn it into a positive. And
Yeah.
that takes practice. But also, I think if you can surround yourself with people like that, then it almost becomes your default setting. And that's
It,
again, it's a frequency. You set your frequency for the day, and it's so powerful. So when you kind of say, I don't think a lot of people are like that, the people I hang around with are. And if I
yeah.
don't,
Me too.
if someone isn't, I feel that straight away, like you probably do, and that's energy, and when I talk about energy of people, I talk about soul shades, so the colour soul shade is basically the colour of your energy, and it's that feeling, like with you, I get a really good vibe that even through the screen, I feel like, "Well, oh, this is kind of one of my people. She's definitely one of my people." But you do get a feeling about other people, don't you? And I think that if I do get that, I think I'm so tuned into it now that I'm like, "Oh, no. Not for me." I can understand their perspective and I can see their strengths. And I think that's another really important thing. Would I be able to work with them is another thing. I'm like, would I? Would I not? What do they bring to the party? Because I do soul shades for corporate teams, which is so interesting because you'll see gaps. You'll see gaps in these different colours. So you might have a lot of reds and you'll only have a couple of greens and you'll have only a couple of oranges. And then the other day I was doing one for a construction company and a guy was uh, he was the FD and they're all like, "Well, he's gonna be blue because that's all process and communication." And I was like, "Okay." And he came out red and they were all really shocked. And I said to him, "Are you shocked that you've come out as red, which is quite action focused and a leader and fast paced?" And he went, "Absolutely not." He said, "That's
Yeah.
why I
He
get so
knows.
frustrated. I am a red person trapped in a blue role and this needs to change." So they've almost done a restructure around the fact that his energy actually lends itself much better. They'll get far more from him. He'll be far more productive in a role that lends itself to his energy. So understanding your
Yeah.
energy, gosh, that's so powerful.
I mean, that is mic drop stuff, isn't it? That's incredible, but actually not surprising. With what you've already shared with us, it makes complete and utter sense. I'd just love to go back actually to what we were saying about, how not everyone's like that. And I hear you and I agree that I think we ripple out that energy. And so then we end up, I think, sometimes leading the way because someone might not be like that, but they see perhaps us showing it in the way that we do all sorts of things. And I'm like, do you know, I think I want a bit of that. I wonder whether my life could be different if I was a little bit more that way. And that's really cool as well.
I love that. And I take myself, so like I say, I've got a 12-year-old daughter at the moment, and she can be quite abrasive. I mean, she has got like 17, 16, 16, nearly 18-year-old brothers. Um, so she can have the banter of an 18-year-old boy, which is fun if you're 18, but if you're an 11-year-old girl in school, it can be a little bit harsh. But I saw this in myself as a teenager. I was quite standoffish. I was a bit like, kind of a resting bitch face type thing. And I think a lot of the time with women, and I see it in the corporates, that when they've worked their way up so high, they've had to fight for this and they are not willing to give anyone an inch. They're fully in that kind of red energy. And I help them soften that to see their feminine energy. So when in color therapy, when we add white to anything, it just softens the intensity of the vibration. So that's how you turn a red energy, which is absolutely fantastic, great action driven person. You can soften it into a more feminine action driven by just adding the white. And color is such a visual cue as well. We're all affected by it subconsciously, whether we know it or not. That's the beauty of the subconscious. We're not thinking about it. And when you see a woman who has been power dressing in a red for a long time, soften that into a pink, you see people kind of visibly relax a little around them and respond
Interesting.
very differently. Interestingly enough, I did send this lady who's an executive assistant to a board member in a huge corporate, and she did not want to match their energy. That her boss was red, and so she'd always been quite submissive to that, quite an empath, and wanted to just, and actually what I did and she was getting very frustrated with it because basically she had no boundaries, which is a bit like me naturally. She had no boundaries at all. I said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to dress you in pink tomorrow and we're going to see what happens. Because pink is an opposite frequency to green. So green is very empathetic and caring and nurturing, which is lovely, all of the qualities that she had. But what she needed wasn't necessarily what she had in abundance. It was something else. It was this slightly more boundaried approach and this feminine energy. And we dressed her in pink. And her boss was like, "What's this? Oh, I'm not sure about this. I'm just not sure." She says he's never commented on anything she's worn, but this had visibly riled him that she was
Yeah,
in this pink shirt. And I said, he's feeling it. He doesn't know
I
it
was
because
gonna
it's
say,
subconscious. He's feeling the feminine energy off you.
it was a
It's
visceral
unsettling for him.
reaction.
Yeah. And I said, "And how'd it make you
Oh,
feel?" She said, "It made me feel powerful." I was like, "Exactly. And doesn't he know it?" I said, "You can still be powerful in your role supporting him, but you need boundaries in it. Otherwise, you're not going to stay in that role very long. So it's not going to do anybody any good." So
no.
we can use color as this almost this visual mental cue that then affects our subconscious as well. So powerful.
It's incredible. Can I just ask a question then, just to check that I've understood it correctly? If she had worn greens to kind of match her empathy and, that side of her, the softer side of her, would that have made her a little bit of a walkover, pushover?
It's almost a signal to other people, and so green is so perfect in certain situations, and this is what I
Mhm.
say, we dress for ourselves, so if our so for example, my soul shade is green, okay? I am naturally an empath, but when I noticed this in my relationship as well, that I was very much a people pleaser. It's how I was brought up as well. I mean, I was the good girl, I'm very similar age to you, I'm 46, and,
Yeah.
kind of bringing up in the 80s, just be a good girl, you can never be thin enough or pretty enough and all these things and just nod and be quiet.
Yeah.
But it's in me as well. I am a nurturer, I am a carer, I like people. Money's never been a success driver for me. It's been more about the feeling and how I feel and knowing that I've made a difference to people, which is great. But if you're running a business, you do need to make money. And so I need to then embody another energy within that business as well, or bring someone in who has that energy. And funnily enough, I'm green, my husband's red. So he is the red energy, which frustrates the hell out of me because he's always 10 steps ahead of me. He's always action driven. Everything's fast. It's why he burnt out so fast when he had his nervous breakdown. I could see that coming years before, but he was so bull in a china shop, go, 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 build, 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 that he was never going to see it come in. So the wonderful thing about understanding your energy and then understanding other people's energy is that they're not wrong. They're just different. And once you understand that perspective, it stops you getting so frustrated with people. So he knows that I'm green. That's my energy. I'm not wrong in being green. I'm not wrong that it takes me a while to settle into things or that I will put other people first. I always put my kids first. That's just naturally how I vibrate. It's not naturally how he vibrates, but he needs the green. He needs some element of the green. And those opposites, often there's a bit of friction when we start using our opposite colour because it doesn't feel right. This is what these women were feeling with this red dress. They were probably a green soul shade, and I put them in bright red. And they were like, "This doesn't feel like me." You're right. It doesn't feel like you. It feels confident. It feels powerful. And if you're not feeling those things, then it can be really scary until you realize why it's making you feel like that. It's an energy. It's a low frequency. It's a long wavelength of light, and it's vibrating low frequency. So it is grounding. It's powerful. And once you learn to use that, then that becomes interesting. This is you then consciously choosing colours to set your frequency, set your vibration for the day, so you can shift your own frequency if it's not where you need it for that day. So when my husband came back from residential care, he was still quite in his red energy. He was quite angry and frustrated and felt like he'd let everyone down. It was definite red energy. I painted the house green. I painted my walls green in the house to diffuse that energy because I needed to bring in the nurturing. You needed to feel safe, balanced, nurtured. And green is a colour in your environment you can bring in, whether it's going out in nature, whether it's bringing it into your home, whether it's through plants. I filled the house with plants and I painted the walls green, and it shifted the energy in the home. Not just for him either, for other people. So you've got to be careful because this is it. This is the ripple effect as well. Other people
Yeah.
react to this as well as you. But the fact that I've got 2 teenage boys in the house who can also be quite red at times, green's great for them. They come in and
Yeah.
they decompress and they balance.
This is incredible. Oh my goodness. I've got so many more questions, but I'm also very, very conscious of your time.
I feel
Um,
like this podcast has gone everywhere, probably but where you wanted it to go. I'm so sorry about that.
it's perfect in my eyes. I hope you're enjoying it.
I'm loving it.
I'm relishing every minute. So I do have one very quick question where you just talked about the walls. That makes so much sense. And my goodness, I don't think I've even said yet, but you can see in my facial expressions your poor husband and you for going through what you've been through. I don't want to overlook that, and we won't go any further into that, but you're all so strong and so brave to have been through what you've been through, and I'm very grateful you shared that story with us as well. What you said about the green walls that you then painted when he returned, does that kind of start to go into feng shui, or am I missing the point here?
Yeah, it does. The beautiful thing about all these different well-being practices is they all interlink, and colour is the thread. Okay.
Mm.
So even in meditation, I use colour. Colour's the only way I can meditate. If anybody struggles to meditate, I do different colour frequency meditations because I'm having you imagining that because your brain doesn't often understand the difference between what you're thinking and reality. So you can imagine things and the brain responds the same way. And because we're dealing with subconscious, it's so powerful. So I do full spectrum meditations for people they're where they could be just wearing their black, but if we can start by colouring in the mind, then it starts to unlock the possibility that actually these frequencies belong in their lives and that when we add the colour, we actually add the balance. And feng shui is another one. Yes, it absolutely does. There are elements of that and setting, you are a product of your environment. So I help people to set kind of colourful corners. So maybe this is a corner for reflection. This is a corner for communication. I do it in offices as well that I help them design
Yeah.
colour schemes for that. But in your home, it is so powerful, even down to how you organize your wardrobe. I organize my wardrobe in energy first. So I go through the visible spectrum, starting with red and going to orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then black at the end. And we just need to touch on black super quickly because black isn't
Yeah.
actually a color. Scientifically, it's an absence of light. So to be classed as a colour, you need to be on the visible spectrum of light. So this is the spectrum we can see. Anything outside of this spectrum, we can't see. But we're using all the time in well-being. So infrared is below red. We can't see it, but we'll spend
Yeah.
thousands on an infrared sauna. Ultraviolet is above violet, and we use it in face masks and stuff all the time. The violet you can see, the colour actually isn't the ultraviolet. The UV is something you can't see. They just add the violet in so that you subconsciously put that colour to it. The ultraviolet rays do not have a colour because they are ultraviolet. They're higher. We can't see them at all. So what we're working with are the frequencies of light. Now, because black has no light, it's an absence of light. It has no frequency, so we don't feel it, which can be so powerful and totally explains why we put that on when we're not feeling ourselves, when we don't want to be seen, when we don't want to be visible. It's like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. And I work with so many women who say, "Oh, I brought colour back in my life. You've really helped me. But what about my teenage daughter or my teenage son? They're head to toe in black." And I'm like, they are cocooning. They're working out who they are. So this is the ideal time for them to wear that black because they're
Yeah.
unsure. And so for anyone who is unsure, black can be so comforting, stepping into that because it sets you away from the limelight. It's an invisibility cloak. The key is not to get stuck in it. The key is to
Yeah.
know how to get yourself out with it, and how I help people to come out of it is to, first of all, connect with their soul shade. So that's the color of their energy, and work from there on out because it's a different process for everybody. Like those women, I don't want to scare people. I put those women in a bright red dress, not realizing at the time that that was the opposite frequency to their energy. So it made sense that they would then go straight back to their black tracksuit because it felt too much. So
Yeah.
we work from your soul shade, which should feel good, and then work outwards from there. And absolutely, all these different well-being practices link beautifully, and colour just links straight in there with them.
So, how do you help a person find their soul shade? Do you have a service that is just for that, or is it part of a bigger
Yeah, well,
offering?
so I do have a service that's just for that. So you can do that online. So I have actually now formulated a way of being able to do this online. It's a process. So it's brilliant. So you can just buy that online off the website. It will send you a link to a questionnaire, which I always say all the process, just it's intuitive. This, okay, it's not going to ask you to pick a color, but it's going to ask you are things about you and your personality and how you react in different situations, because what I'm trying to gauge on here is your energy. It has 100% success rate of being accurate at this as well, because it's taken me so long to be able to nail this down. But what that will do is and there's not hundreds of questions, it'll take you 5 minutes, 6 minutes tops. And what that will do then is generate your soul shade. So it will tell you your soul shade. It will then send you a guide to your soul shade, which I've written, and your magnetic pair. So that's that pair, like I said, we're opposites. That's the shade that's going to teach you something. That's the colour that might not feel comfortable at first, but it's certainly the colour that's going to be teaching you something. And within that guide, I talk you through what those things will be. So for me, my magnetic pair gives me the boundaries where I'm just so happy to lie down and let everybody walk all over me. The magnetic pair helps to do that. So it's almost like a shadow side when you're working with shadow work. It's what's going to address those issues that you kind of know are there that aren't your strengths, and be able to hook onto something that will make them more balanced for you. And you also on that get a 5-minute colour meditation, which, if you'd have told me I've been meditating 7 years ago, it would not have happened. I'm not that sort of person. I've got 3 kids, life's busy. But what I learned when I did my chromatherapy was actually if you can hook onto the colour, I'm a visual learner, meditation is super easy. And I do 5-minute meditations. So they're great for mums, especially if you're forever, ferrying kids around. I just get to that rugby training car park 5 minutes early and put it on the radio and zen out, while I'm parked there. And the 5-minute soul shades meditation focuses on recharging your energy. It's like plugging you back in, really. And then also
Wow.
recharging your magnetic energy as well. And literally, it's 5 minutes a day. Do it before bed, do it when you get up, do it like I do it when I grab it, picking up someone from any various sport training. It's just trying to carve out that time for you. And once you know what your soul shade is, it's like your anchor. It can become a very visual anchor for you as well. So, look for the green. If you do suffer with anxiety, look for whatever your soul shade is. Mine's green. So I'll be like, oh, where's the green? I've got a jade little angel crystal that I take around with me. It becomes beautiful, and then it becomes almost like a superpower.
Now, I was going to ask you to share 3 top tips, but I'm very aware that we're very close to time now, and I've got a few questions at the end of the podcast I want to ask you. I actually feel what you've offered us today has covered three top tips, if that's all right with you.
I love it. I love it when someone else tells me what to do because as mums, we never get this, do we? This is why I love flying. I love getting on a plane. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're not scared?" I'm absolutely not because for once, I'm not flying the plane. If it goes
It's
down,
not.
it's not on me.
I
Fantastic.
love
Yes,
that.
tell me what my
There you
tips
go.
are.
Okay. Well, I think your tips are one of the things I would say that it should come as one of the top three things from today's podcast is that you do not have to be defined by how you feel when you wake up in the morning. You can fix your own frequency by choosing color. I think that's really, really big. I also feel that it would be very important for people to gauge what their soul shade is so they can actually move forward with so much that you've shared with us today. And actually, the other tip if I'm having to extract one now, it's not to do with color, it's not to do with style, it's not to do with chromotherapy. It's really highlighting that stepping out of your comfort zone and going to an event, even when you're feeling rubbish, let's use the word rubbish, has to be done. You've got to push yourself. And I think, Kate, you have given such a powerful example of that to us today. And when people head away from today and they check out your website and they check out your Instagram, I really expect them to be sort of mouth wide open, say, "What? This all happened in the last 4 years?" Because it's incredible. So there you go. I hope that's all right what I've done there with our tips.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. I need you every day to tell me what I actually mean.
Well, I need you more. So brilliant. All good. So let's just whiz on to the last few questions quickly if you've got time. What is the toughest thing for you about working for yourself?
The toughest thing about working for yourself can be the isolation. I do a lot of events, I do a lot of public speaking, and I love it. That's my strength. So as soon as I've got to do something that is a weakness or a weaker area for me, which is process, which is sitting at a laptop, which I hate doing, then that's tough for me. And those days are long. So what I am now doing is outsourcing it. I'm just stopping it because I do think life's too short to do the stuff that you're not good at and to spend time on stuff that doesn't bring you joy. So for me, I've tried to turn that one, like I do Ever the Optimist, into a positive. That if that's the toughest thing, then how can we just get rid of it? It's generally how I
Wonderful.
live my life.
And what an inspiration because not everybody does. So thank you for sharing that. That will very much speak to people today. And what's the best thing? And I'll bet you can't even limit this to one thing. What's the best thing about working for yourself, Kate?
The freedom, although obviously I'm my own worst enemy with that because 'cause I'm my boss and I never sleep, basically, I'm just on it all the time, but the community as well, so do you see kind of that the thing that was the worst thing I've now turned into the best thing because I do co-working groups as well with women who all work for themselves and they can just all come round my house and we're like, "Come on, what do we need help with?" "Right, an hour, we're not talking for an hour, get on that laptop, get done what you need to do. Who do you need help from?" And I love that because I think that's the one thing that most of us struggle with. You know, there's a lot of people who struggle with that. So the best thing is the people that I've met and the incredible women that are just giving it a go because that's life's too short
Yeah.
not to, isn't it?
Yeah. I need to give my cheeks a massage after this talk. I've smiled so hard because I'm loving it so much. We have one more question, and then we will take away from you where we can find you online, and then I'm going to let you go because this is one of the hottest days of the year that we're recording today, and Kate is being very gracious in talking through this heat. As you know, the name of my business is How Does She Do It? Because I believe that she doesn't do it all, at least not all at the same time. So, can you tell me one thing that you either do or perhaps don't do now to ensure that you have remain on track, healthy, and happy in your life?
I ask for help, which is
Yay.
huge. I've never done it before. You know, it's probably taken me the past year or two, but I allow people to help me because I know how much how satisfying it is when I help other people. And I think something that came out of therapy, maybe about 7 or odd years ago, was that by not allowing people to help, you're doing them a disservice as well. You're not leaning into their strengths. So allowing people to help is actually serving them better. So that's what I do. I let people help and I ask for help. And it's brilliant. And it causes no end of joy because the connection that you can make through someone helping you and you helping them back, it's just perfect.
Magical. I mean, what a win-win that is that you've created there. You're not having to do the stuff that you don't want to do or you don't feel is your superpower, and you're giving other people the opportunity to shine and and connect with you as well, which is wonderful. Thank you so much. So before we draw to a close, where can we find you online?
You can find me at Kate the Colour on Instagram, and the business is at Chromie Colour. And you can find me at the website, which is crow-me.co.uk.
Wonderful. We'll get those in the show notes so people are just a click away from finding you, contacting you, and hopefully heading to that shop and finding out their soul shade at the very, very least. Thank you. I have absolutely adored our conversation today. I'm so grateful for your time and your wisdom that you've shared, your honesty, your vulnerability. It's given me all sorts of tingles, energy, inspiration, and afterwards, I will drop you an email about how many things I can tick in terms of what I've got in common with you. It's ridiculous how many things I nearly went. Yep, me too. Yep, me too. So I will let you know that another time, but I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it so much. I've really, really, really loved it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I'd love you to take a moment to share and subscribe too. Come and join me over at How Does She Do It Life on both Facebook and Instagram. And until we speak again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead.